Hi guys, so I'm going to do my September-October wrap-up. In September I only read 2 books, that's why I did not film a wrap-up for September. I just thought I would include it in my October because it kind of flows right along with some of the books that I read in October. So in September I read Maze Runner and The Scorched Trials by James Dashner, which is the first 2 books in the Maze Runner trilogy. I gave this one a 5 out of 5 stars. And I gave this one a 4.5 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed these 2 books. And so the first book that I read in October, kind of tying all of this together so I can talk about all of them at once, is The Death Cure, which I gave a 5 out of 5 stars. This trilogy I thought was very, very good. I loved the world, I loved the characters, with the exception of like 2 of them. I really loved these characters. The 2 characters I didn't like were Teresa and Aris. I really didn't like them that much, but anywho, I really enjoyed this trilogy. I thought it was very intense, and The Death Cure, it's been a while since a book made me cry this much, and yeah, The Death Cure was quite an emotional read, but I really, really enjoyed this trilogy overall. I thought it was quite fantastic, and I cannot believe it took me this long to finally read these books. The next book that I read in the month of October is Project 17 by Laurie Ferrier-Stillars. I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars. It's a reread for me, and I knew it was going to be a 5 out of 5 stars before I picked up to reread it. But it is about this group of 6 teenagers that go to this insane asylum, Danvers State Insane Asylum, which is actually a real insane asylum. So if you look it up and do some research before you read this book, it kind of gets you a little more freaked out knowing that it's a real place. Anyhow, they go on to this asylum on the eve of its demolition to film a movie for an RTV movie contest. And it's very intense at some points, and some stuff goes on, and it's pretty creepy, and I love the writing, I love the characters, I thought it's brilliant. And one thing that makes it even more is that the asylum is essentially a character in and of itself, which I really, really enjoyed. And yeah, I highly recommend this for a spooky October read. So maybe next Halloween, next October, pick this up and read it. You can read it any time of the year, but it's like perfect for October. I highly, highly, highly recommend. It's one of my favorite standalone books of all time. The next thing I read in October is The Flash 50th Anniversary Special Edition comic book, which I gave a 5 out of 5 stars. This is an 80-page comic book, so it's a pretty giant comic. And if you're a Flash fan, I highly, highly recommend you pick this up. I don't know if you can find it in comic stores. You might be able to. I found mine at a comic convention, but you might be able to find them at comic shops. But anywho, I really, really enjoyed this. Basically, it has 3 different stories in it, but with the same villain and the same kind of like overall connecting, weaving story, even though it takes place from like 3 different flashes. Like there's 3 different flashes that it focuses on, but it's the same villain running throughout it, and it's got an interweaving plot to it, which I really, really enjoyed. And yeah, I'm a huge fan of The Flash, so this was just something super epic to read. And like I said, if you're a big fan of The Flash, I highly, highly, highly recommend you check this comic out if you haven't done so already. And the next thing that I read is Criers Cross by Lisa McMann, which I gave a 4 out of 5 stars. And this is a very, very short book. It really didn't take much time at all to read this. It is pretty creepy. Like, it doesn't start off too creepy, but it starts off like pretty intense, and you just get to get this kind of like foreboding feeling in this book. And there's one part of this book specifically where it kind of like gets very intense, and it kind of gives like a little bit of anxiety. Yeah, if you read this book, you know what I'm talking about, but I don't want to give away any spoilers. But yeah, it's really, really good. I love the writing style, and I loved the characters, and I love that this dealt with an OCD main character, which I've never read anything that dealt with OCD before, so I thought that was handled really, really well. And there's a little bit of romance in this, which I felt like didn't take away from the overall arc of the story, if that makes any sense. But yeah, I thought this was really good, and highly, highly, highly recommend. The only thing is that I wish the creep factor would have been completely throughout the story. I mean, there was some parts where it kind of wasn't, but however, I really, really, really love this. And one thing about this story that I found quite unique is that you get these little things before just about every single chapter. You get these little things here, which you find out kind of later what that is, and it just makes it really creepy. And yeah, I highly recommend this if you have not read it yet, and it's a very, very short, quick read. The next thing I read was actually a little 3-page short thing, which is called Thomas's First Memory of the Flare, which I'll leave a link to down below, which is like I said, just a 3-page thing, and I gave that a 5 out of 5 stars. It's basically what it is it is between the Scorched Trials and the Death Cure is when you should read it, because it takes place kind of when Thomas is in the White Room, if I remember correctly. And basically what it is a memory of when Thomas was a child and his father had the flare disease, and it showed kind of the effect that it had on him and the effect that it had on his mother and everything. So yeah, it was a very emotional 3 pages. Like I said, it's just super short, only 3 pages. It wouldn't take that long to read, so I'll leave a link down below to that if you are interested in reading that and finding out a little bit more about what Thomas remembers. And leading into the next thing that I read, which is The Kill Order by James Dashner, which I gave a 4 out of 5 stars. I thought this, I didn't connect with the characters as much as I would have liked to. However, I thought that this did a really great job at kind of giving the backstory to the flare virus and how it came to be and how it evolved and to what we know of it in what we know it as in the Maze Runner trilogy. So I thought this was quite good, and kind of ended very intensely, if that makes any kind of sense at all. But I look forward to picking up the next prequel and finding out more about what happens. The only thing that I do wish is that it had more Thomas in it. However, like, there was only like the epilogue and the what's it called? Prologue? Yeah, prologue and epilogue were the only things that had Thomas in it. And but we follow this character named Mark and kind of his journey with different people, and we kind of get to see a little bit of how what the Sunflares done, like what Sunflares did immediately, and then you get to see how the flare virus started, which I really enjoyed, kind of getting the backstory to that. And then the last thing that I read is Arrow issue 1, and this is taken straight from the world of the CW television show. I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars. I thought this was quite good. For some reason, this doesn't have a cardboard backing in it. It says making the comic very, very flimsy to hold up. But anyway, like I said, this is taken straight from the television show, which I watch and really, really enjoy. So I think if you want to read this comic book, you might want to have familiarized yourself with the show, and because this is like I said, a single issue comic book, and it's split up into 3 chapters, so it's pretty like almost abrupt. Excuse me. Yeah, it's pretty like almost like abrupt and a little rushed, but overall I really, really enjoyed it, and I absolutely love the Green Arrow. So that is all for the books that I read in September and October. Let me know what you read in those months, and also let me know if you've read Thomas's First Memory of the Flare, or if you plan to check that out. Like I said, I'll leave a link to that down below as well. And yeah, that is it for this video. Till next time, bye!